Hello, vault dwellers, and welcome back to the kitchen. Today, I'm going to bring you a favorite recipe of ours, buffalo chicken pizza with a homemade blue cheese dressing for it. And we're actually going to start with the blue cheese dressing. So to get that started, we need 4 ounces of blue cheese crumbles that we're going to dump in our bowl here. And then to that, we're going to add about 3 tablespoons of milk, just to help to get the crumbles broken up. There we go. And what you want to do is just take a fork and kind of mash the crumbles down until they break up, because you don't want giant crumbles in your final dressing, but you still want a few. Hope you can see that pretty good. I'm putting my hand right in there. We'll just keep on mashing here. And before you actually start doing this, you want to taste a piece of the blue cheese to see how salty it is, because different brands have different salt levels, and that will determine how much salt you're going to end up adding in the end. Alright, yeah, it looks pretty good. We got it broken up. Now next we're going to add a half a cup of mayo. You can use your favorite mayo. And we've got that in there. Oops. And I'm going to take all that off the fork. And we're going to mix this in. And this comes together really quickly. The reason you want to make it first is because you want to allow it to set up in the refrigerator for a good half hour, 45 minutes before you start using it. Next, we want 1 teaspoon of Dijon mustard. You can use your favorite kind. I'm using a homemade Dijon. It's the kind we prefer. And then we'll get that stirred in. Whoop. And splash everywhere. And then next we just need 3 tablespoons of white vinegar. There we go. And this just kind of helps give it a little zing. Mix that in slowly, or you're going to be wearing the whole kit and caboodle. There we go. And now our final touch will be some salt and pepper to taste. We like a good amount of pepper in ours. You can certainly back down from that a little bit. And then this is fairly salty cheese, so I'm just going to add a small pinch of salt. Give it a stir. And then we just want to check the seasoning here real quick on it. tastes good. So I'm going to set this up in the refrigerator for a good, like I said, half hour, 45 minutes. And we'll move on to the next step. Okay, now we need to get our pizza dough started. And we're going to start that with 3 cups of warm water. You want it about 110 degrees. Too hot, it'll kill your yeast, and not hot enough and your yeast won't activate. We are going to add to that 2 tablespoons of white sugar. This will help the yeast, give it something to feed on. Okay, we're going to use an instant yeast, so we don't have to wait for 5 minutes for this to proof. If I can get the jar open, there we go. We need 2 tablespoons of that. And that should be good. All right. Let me put this down and start it. My mixer's a little noisy. I'm sorry about that. We're also going to add 3 tablespoons of olive oil. And then we need 6 cups of flour. And you may need a little bit more than 6 cups. It all depends on your weather. If it's a rainy day, you're going to need to add a little bit more. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with 5 cups, and we'll slowly add in the 6th cup as we need it. Whoop. That was 3. That one is 4. And 5. Alright, we'll get, and we also need to add 1 tablespoon of salt. I like to add my salt separate from the yeast, because sometimes salt and yeast do not get along very well. So if we do it this way, we should be fine. Alrighty. We're going to start this out on low and let it slowly come together. We don't want to make any more of a mess than what I've already managed to do. Alright, and now we're going to bring it up to 2. Starting to come together. I hope you guys can see that really well. Alright, let me add this next cup because it's still very wet, as you can tell. It's a little damp out today, so I may actually need to add a little bit more flour. We'll see here. Started out on 1 again, and then we're bring it up to 2. Let the machine do the work for you if you can. Or you can certainly do this by hand or in a bread machine. I've also got my oven preheated to 170 degrees. As soon as it reached that temperature, I shut it off. And we will put our dough mixture in the oven to let it proof, because it's going to need to rise for at least 30 minutes or until doubled in size after we get it together. And it's still pretty wet. So I'm going to start slowly adding some more flour. And what we're looking for is a dough that's tacky to the touch, but when we do touch it, it comes away and our fingers remain clean. And I'll show you what I mean when we get to that stage. There we go. That was about another 3/4 of a cup of flour, not quite a whole cup. And it looks like we're going to need a little bit more. It's still sticking to the bottom. Alright, let's check our dough. It looks still like it's still going to be too tacky. Yeah, you can tell I've got, it came away on my finger, so this dough is still too wet. So let me get that wiped off, and we were going to add some more flour. Another 3/4 of a cup there. Whoa, wrong way. Let's get this scraped down into the bowl. Alright, more flour. Alright, what we're going to have to do is, this is getting to be too much for my mixer to handle, so we're going to have to actually bring it over to our board and roll it out, or add a little bit more flour to it and knead it by hand. So I will bring you back when I get that set up. Okay, I got it over on my board now. Sometimes when it gets, when I have to add that much extra flour, my machine just can't handle it. And it's pretty much where we want it. You can tell it's not really sticking to my hands. So I'm going to back out some of this extra flour. And we're just going to knead it until it comes together really well. We're looking for a smooth consistency here. You want it to almost feel like a baby's bottom when you're done with it. Whoop! My board's going to go everywhere. I don't like using this board on this counter too much, but my other counter is not very light friendly. So we'll make do here. And it's actually not going to take that long because it did pretty well in the mixer. In fact, I think we're pretty much there where we need to be. As you can tell, it's kind of got like a smooth texture on it. It's already starting to rise. I'm just going to kind of pull it together and form it in. It's getting a little sticky where I was working with it. Alright. Now we're going to put this in a our greased pan. And we're going to let this sit in the 170 degree oven for a half an hour. But first I'm going to put some saran wrap on top of it. And that'll just help kind of hold that dough in just in case it rises over the top. And I'm also going to cover it with a cloth diaper. These are really good for bread making. Alright, I will bring you guys back in a half an hour when this is done. Okay guys, while the dough is rising in the oven, I'm going to get the chicken together. I hope that's not too dark. If I turn the light on, it's going to be too bright and you won't be able to see. In here, I've got 4 chicken breasts cubed up and about a tablespoon of olive oil. And we're just going to get this browned up. And then we will add our wing sauce and a little bit of chicken broth. You can kind of see I've got about a 1-inch, I think maybe, yeah, there we go, about a 1-inch size cube, and I'll probably end up breaking this down a little bit more as it cooks, because we want nice sized pieces but not super big pieces on our pizza. Also going to add just a little bit of pepper. Just because we do like pepper. But it does not need any salt because the wing sauce is inherently salty on its own. Okay, now that our chicken is about done, I'm going to keep kind of breaking up the bigger pieces, making sure it's cooked all the way through. Might still be a few of the larger ones that aren't quite where we want them. But they're looking good. I'm not, maybe there's a little bit more broth in there. I think I'll probably drain this off a little bit. And I will bring you back after I've done that, and we'll move on to the next step. Okay, I've got the chicken all drained off, and we are going to add our wing sauce. Now you can use your favorite wing sauce. There are several good ones out there on the market. I'm going to use the one that our family likes, and it is actually just a generic one that I pick up. And I'm probably going to add a good 3/4 of this bottle. And we'll see where we're going with that and how much we've got. Just want to make sure all your chicken is coated. That's looking pretty good. And I'm also going to add in about a 1/2 cup of chicken broth. I'm using homemade. I canned some chicken and used it up, and I saved the broth from it. And this will kind of bring down the heat of the wing sauce a little bit and add some more flavor into it at the same time. And I think that's about where I want. I'm going to add just a tad bit more of both of them. There we go. Now while this reduces, I'm going to get our pizza dough out of the oven, because it is more than done. It's been a little bit more than a 1/2 hour. Ooh. In fact, it is over-risen on me a little bit. Oh my goodness, it really went. That's what happens sometimes when you add the extra flour. You can kind of see it's kind of going all over the side of the bowl. Okay, while we've got it at this point, I'm going to remove just a little bit of the sauce here. Doesn't matter if we get any of the chicken in it because this is going on the pizza also. That's pretty good. About a half a cup. And just make sure we've got any of the big chunks worked out. And I'm going to let this sauce reduce a little bit more. And I will bring you guys back when that's ready. Okay guys, we've got it about to where we need it. It's pretty well reduced. I don't think it's going to go too much further without burning, so I'm going to turn this off and I will bring you over to the other counter while we'll get the pizza dough rolled out. Alright, bear with me for a minute. Okay, as you can see, I've got the pizza dough all laid out here. It's nice and risen. Definitely double in size. I'm just going to kind of divide it up here. And I'm going to go with individual pizzas. I know this looks like a lot of dough, but some of this dough is going to be used in another recipe. Move these off to the side a little bit. They'll kind of deflate, but they'll puff back up. So what I'm going to do is just kind of free form it out, get it rolled out a little. They don't have to be perfect. I think they're going to stick on me. There we go. Kind of get them pulled. You can make this as thin or as thick as you like. You are the architect of your own pizza and how you like your crust. I'm doing what works for our family. Certainly does not need to be perfect in any way. Kind of rustic. Now I like mine a little bit thicker on the edges, so I'm going to kind of roll mine over. And I will get that one off the board here and move it over. Alright, now we'll move on to the next one, and I'll make up one more for you guys, and then I'll show you how we're going to sauce these up. I'm going to leave this one just a tad bit thicker. It's kind of very wet here today. I don't normally have this much problem with my dough. Let me grab a little bit of flour here. There we go. This one will be a tad bit larger. Get a little help in there. You can certainly roll these out however you like. You can make them round, you can make them square, you can pat it out in the pan, make like a Sicilian style. This part I will leave totally up to you. I kind of like the idea of the free form. almost like a flatbread. If you get a hole in it, you can just pinch it back together. And again, I'm going to roll the edges over just to kind of give us a little dam there for the sauce and the toppings that we're going to be putting on. Alright, let me get this moved over and I will show you how we're going to top these. Let me get this board out of the way. Ugh, man. That is a lot of dough. Alright. We'll bring this over. Let me shake this one out just a little bit more. Now this is an ungreased cookie sheet. And I'm going to take the sauce that I removed from the pan, from the chicken, and I'm going to add, I do not have a bigger spoon here. Too big. I'm going to take a little bit of the blue cheese dressing that we made earlier. And I'm going to add it right in to the wing sauce. Give it a little stir up. You don't need very much. We're just kind of basically creating a sauce for the bottom of our pizza. That should just about do it. Yeah, looks good. Now what I'm going to do is just put it on like I would a normal pizza. Get it all spread out. You can add as much or as little as you want. Alright, that's pretty good there. And next we're going to add a small amount of mozzarella cheese. Basically we want just enough so the chicken will stick to the crust. And that should do it. Grab the chicken here. And I will just use the spoon from here. And all we're going to do is just start putting on some of our chicken. This part goes pretty quick. I've got the oven heating up to 425. I think a bigger spoon would be a little bit better. And you do want to get a little bit of the sauce, but you don't want too much because we've already got the one sauce, so you don't want to make this soggy. But you do want to make sure you're going to get chicken in every bite. Okay, and then we will top it with just a little bit more. Not a lot, just enough to keep everything in place. This is, after all, buffalo pizza, not a triple cheese heart attack pizza. There we go. Now, I'm going to get this in the oven, and I will bring you guys back when it's done, and I'll show you how I finished this off. Okay, guys, we have got these out of the oven. They are cooled enough to touch, and I'm going to finish them off. I like to top them with a little bit of lettuce. And some freshly diced tomatoes. And of course, our blue cheese dressing that we made earlier. Alright guys, I hope you give this a try. This is buffalo chicken my way. If you like these videos, leave me a comment down below. Give me a thumbs up on the video so I know I'm doing content that you guys would like to see. And subscribe if you're new. Thanks for joining me. Again, I've been Vault Girl, and have a pleasant evening.